It says we are now streaming live on YouTube, but it still shows we're in practice mode.
We are started.
Great.
Give it a second.
See who is attending. So Nez, let me know if there are other people on.
So we have 5 participants on. I think we can wait a few more seconds, I guess.
And we'll give it.
You have people joining now.
Yeah, they're joining now.
Go to 1:05, and we'll start right at 1:05. Give people 3 minutes to join.
I feel like we need elevator music or something.
Can you sing this?
I cannot.
Rap?
I will not disgrace myself or anyone else's ears by trying to sing.
We'll get comfortable with.
Yeah. I got a Dr. Seuss book that I could read to you.
Oh, no.
Oh, goodness. So we have 9 people right now.
Excellent. Thank you for joining. We'll start momentarily.
I also have a Winnie the Pooh book that I could read to y'all while we wait, but on this rainy, stormy afternoon in St. Louis, Missouri. It's nap time. Oh, looks like we lost one. Now it says 8. Somebody's gerbils went to sleep and they got disconnected. They'll come back.
All right, well, we'll just go ahead and get started. Welcome to Connecting with Community Publications with Kevin Jones, who is the Chief Operating Officer of the St. Louis American. My name is Reagan Johnson. I am, until Friday, the Public Communications Manager for Spire and also the co-chair of the Programming Committee, along with Nez Zavala, for the St. Louis Public Relations Society of America chapter. And we will go ahead and get started. Kevin has an awesome resume. I will read the highlights. He is a graduate of the University of Missouri School. He is a graduate of the University of Missouri Columbia School of Journalism. He's an honors graduate from St. Louis University High School, and he started his career with duties varying from layout and design to typesetting to reporting to sales to even having a comic strip in the Man-Eater. Upon graduation, he spent several years at the Suburban Journals, where he, at the age of 23, managed a 24-person advertising staff representing all 45 areas of Missouri and Illinois journal papers at the time. After joining the St. Louis American in 1992, he now oversees the entire operations of the St. Louis American newspaper and American Publishing Company, Inc. Under Jones' leadership, the St. Louis American has grown to be the single largest weekly newspaper in the entire state of Missouri. The American has gained local, regional, and national recognition by numerous press associations throughout the United States. The American was named the #1 Black newspaper in the nation by the National Publishers Association 14 times in the past 26 years, which is unprecedented. And it continues to win dozens of awards annually from regional press associations. In 2010, Jones became the second youngest president of the Missouri Press Association in its 150+ year history, second only to Walter Williams. Among his awards include the Suburban Newspaper of America's National Advertising Director of the Year. He was also the recipient of the Missouri Advertising Managers Association, D. Hamilton O. Pro Award. He is a 7-time first place winner of Missouri Press Association's Best Advertising Idea Award and a 5-time first place winner of the National Newspaper Association's Best Idea Award. His accomplishments go on and on. We are so glad to have you with us today, Kevin. And before Kevin gets started, just want to let you know about another upcoming free webinar that we will be doing on April 21st at 11:30 a.m. It will be for APR, which is Accreditation in Public Relations. So we'll have a panel for that event. So mark your calendars. With that, I will turn it over to Kevin Jones.
I think my presentation is shorter than my introduction. But thank you for that, Reagan, very much. I'm going to just tell you a lot about the St. Louis American, but also how you can literally work with us, partner with us. We want to be seen as a partner, not as a media outlet that is hard to get a hold of or hard to ever have anything run, et cetera. So that's why we're here. We are a true community newspaper in every sense of it. So I guess we'll just go through the slides here to the next one. So as Reagan mentioned, 50,000 copies every Thursday. We're the largest weekly in the state. Completely free. The majority of our distribution points we'll get into in a minute, but free distribution is what we're all about, and that includes our website as well. If you go to the next slide, please. Then we can go through that quickly. Reagan talked about that. It was a big honor for us. The next one, as well as the Gold Cup in Missouri. This is important for us. You know, we have a little team of 25 here, and we're beating out newspapers such as the Business Journal, which is an absolutely terrific publication, the Riverfront Times, who's great in their own way, Washington Missourian is a great publication, Jefferson County News Leader. Very proud of these awards the last 6 times. If you go to the next one. Talk about our distribution. We do have boxes that you can see like that one, but the majority are Schnuck stores and Walgreens stores, especially when the pandemic hit. A lot of places were closed, but people were still going to the grocery stores, perhaps more than ever, and Walgreens as well. So during that pandemic time, we really shoved a whole lot of papers into those areas because we knew the readers could go there. So ideally, they're usually by the cart racks or somewhere after you check out on the way out of Schnucks and Walgreens. Again, completely free. You pick it up as you leave when you go out. Partially because of that distribution system, 2/3 of our readers are female, just so everyone knows. That's very important for us. From an advertising standpoint, advertisers always harp on the fact that women make the majority of buying decisions in the household, which is certainly true in my household. Let's just leave it at that. Next one, please. So we're targeting the region's African-American community and anyone who is interested in that community. When Obama was elected, I've been here, as you saw by Reagan's date, I'm about to celebrate my 30th anniversary here. When Obama was, when I first came here in 92, I should say, a lot of our distribution was in North County and in the city, as African Americans have dispersed throughout the entire area, including St. Charles County. Our distribution has followed. We have more non-African Americans having more interest in what we are saying. I didn't say that they're necessarily agreeing with it, but they would like to know what we are saying. So our web numbers and our newspapers have shown that because of where we distribute. If you go to the next one. We're all about local coverage, and this is where we need your help. Again, with a small staff, we rely on other people sending things in. Local high school sports. We're going to talk about people on the move in just a second. local politics, etc. But we really like to concentrate on positive things going on in the African American community that they may not get consistently with other media, whether it's print, broadcast, etc. But local is what we are all about. If you go through our paper in tomorrow's paper, you're not going to see very much national in there. We do a little kind of a Hollywood gossip column on page 2 called Hot Sheet, but after that, not a whole lot of national. Next one, please. So 20 to 25% of our content is provided by the community. Some newspapers, some dailies might be against this, but we encourage this heavily. Obituaries, it's sad to say, but we have become the place where a lot of African American obituaries are listed. Our calendar listings will be coming back. We took them out due to COVID, but they will be coming back shortly. These are all free. Everything on here, completely no charge. Briefs, we'll talk about those with you all in a second. People on the move, and then guest column. If we can go to the next one. So how do we exist? It's all by advertising. If you look at our page, almost every page will have an ad on it. And this is local, regional, national, etc. We have a great mix of advertising. We're not cheap, but we're not outrageous as well. We try to make it so anyone is low budget as a church or nonprofit up to a major national advertiser. We try to fit all of their budgets. So that's how we exist: print ads and online ads. Next one. But we're much more than just a newspaper. So if you go on the next one, we're trying to get our team to think more digitally here. We have more than 200,000 unique visitors online each month. What does that mean for you all? Our newspaper comes out tomorrow. If you need to get some news to us tomorrow or Friday about something that's coming up next Wednesday, well, you're not even going to make the paper, but you can make online and you can make Facebook as well. If we can go to the next one. So Facebook, 54,000 heavily engaged. I'd encourage you to please go to our Facebook. The more positive the news, the more hits they get. You'd be surprised at people on the move listings might get anywhere from 10 likes to 300. You just never know. But again, it's positive news they can't necessarily get elsewhere. We like to say we're engaged with our readers, unlike no other media outlet in St. Louis. I'm not saying trolls don't exist on our Facebook page, but we watch them very, very clearly. And if they attack a company, like I'm not sure who's even on the phone, any of your company, we just don't let them do that kind of stuff. We'll hide them, we'll get rid of them, etc. And then sometimes, the very few times it does happen, our readers tend to take care of business for us, if you know what I mean, calling them out. So it's kind of a neat thing. And then if you go on, same thing with Twitter. I'm not much of a Twitter person, but our Twitter followers love more hard news and political news, as opposed to the Facebook ones who like a little more softer stuff, the people on the move, the entertainment information, those type of things. So hard news is on Twitter. If you go to the next one. We have e-newsletter, again, free, completely free, that we send out once a week, usually highlights from the paper. Our ad staff might sell something like, as you see this Boeing one in here, something along those lines. We have events we put on 4 times a year. We also let people know how they can nominate people through our newsletter. But these are people who particularly subscribe to our email. We do not go out there searching for all of these names and just sign people up in any way whatsoever. These are people who want the email. I'm not saying they click on it every time, but they have signed up to view it. Next one. So this is what we came to. How do I get something into St. Louis American and or SEOamerican.com? If you go to the next slide. This is go back to number 1, if you would, please. Make sure it is of interest to or about African Americans. Very simple. You'd be surprised, some of the largest companies in St. Louis, they send us, they're all happy about their new headquarters or a new whatever the heck. Well, how does that affect our readers? In what way? Is there going to be African American construction? What does it mean? What does that mean? What's the angle for us? If you go to number 2, please. Please send a photo color with African Americans in the photo whenever possible. We don't like stock photos. You all know what those look like. A husband and wife, like they're in the ad looking so happy that they have a new bank they're banking with, kind of corny. So please send real folks in St. Louis, identifiable, etc. When you send in, we get a lot of press releases, we get a lot of briefs, etc. But there are times when, like today, it's 1 o'clock on a Wednesday. We have to be done by 5. We might have a spot open all of a sudden, literally in the next hour, where we got to fill either a little space or maybe even a quarter-page space. Well, if we have a photo, you just moved up the food chain as far as your information getting in versus somebody else, because we are very heavily photo driven in the newspaper. You don't want to be gray at all. So those photos are JPEG photos, the highest res you have, but we've run photos from people's cell phones the way they are now. That's just fine. If we go to number 3, you can always send us a story idea, but this is me being brutally honest. We have a tiny staff. We may get to it, but it's probably going to take a little bit of a time. Unless it's something, let's say you have something. I'm going to use Reagan a couple of times because she's had some recent things up here. She had something that on a Wednesday. She told us ahead of time. She gave us a press release about it, so we knew what we were doing. And my photographer, Wiley, who, if you probably know him, he's been around for the same amount of time. He'll get the shot and he'll do it. He's absolutely terrific. So I don't want you to shy away with that, but if sometimes people will say, well, can you write just a full-fledged story on it? Well, can we? Yes, but it might take a little bit. We're not going to be able to turn it around for your 50th anniversary, which is next Friday, kind of thing. Okay. Next one, please. People on the move listings. These are extremely popular, as I said, on Facebook. I actually handle this myself as one of my little duties on a Friday. I enjoy it. We get a lot of these sent in that I don't even have to go searching for others. These are new hires, promotions, board appointments, some kind of award. But usually you can look at some of the ones there, and certainly on our e-edition, on our website, by the way, our e-edition, completely free. You can go there and look examples of other people on the move. Again, you'd be surprised. It seems to me the larger the company in St. Louis, the less briefs, information, people on the move we get from them. I know it's a big bureaucracy. It's not easy, and I don't know you all's field, but there's some, I'm not going to mention them, that we get nothing. We get absolutely nothing. And remember, this is for your company. This is like, I don't want to say advertising, but certainly PR. If you see someone in there from XYZ company, week after week or month after month, it's like, wow, this company seems to be interested in diversity, because I see someone in there all the time. So it's a very important thing. Those get sent right to me with a photo. Doesn't have to be a long write-up. Even if it is a long write-up, I'll cut it down to, the size you can see there on the screen. Again, completely free. If you go to the next one.
Sorry, my computer button is sticking. That's why I'm trying. There we go.
You
You got
got
too far ahead? Okay.
This is a very good example. This just happened to be in 1 week's paper. So I can't remember if you sent me that top one or not, Reagan, but these are 3 different examples of what I would call briefs up top. One with a picture, one with 2 headshots, one just a brief, but we needed to fill that space. And they're all those criteria, which I said something of interest to our readers and or about African Americans. So that top one has a nice photo. Yet another check presentation from the Urban League, which we see a lot, but they do such great work that we get them in there. The second one, they have something coming up and we honor. I think they're going to honor like 6 or so individuals. 2 of them happen to be African American women, and we highlighted those 2 women. Third one was just simply a brief. And these all might have been the same size press release, if you will, but we whittled them down to fit that space, and it's so helpful. This is a page we try to do on a Friday. Again, we got to have the paper completed today, but we have to get some pages done, if you will, leading up to this going. And this is a perfect example of not necessarily timely news, but important news. If we can go to the next one. I just want to push this out there because if you haven't seen it, this is the largest edition of the year for us. This is in August, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, a business priority. This is nothing but positive news about diversity, equity, inclusion. We all know there's a long way we need to go, but we want to show some of the positive things. So we're not running negative stories like here's a NAACP report on this company or anything. These are all positive, whether it's the individual stories like a DEI director, a company initiative, any of those things going on. You can see even like Maryville University here. That's a big one in August. And imagine this, last year it was 74 pages, which probably meant about 68 stories. We don't have the staff to put that together, so we rely on people like you sending us information that doesn't come across as a PR press release, if you will. I know that's hard to say. And we can take your releases and make it appear more like a story. And we're not going to totally change it or change the theme or those type of things, but we can do those type of things. But again, photo coverage is huge. This is so large, we have to have photos playing out in this section. It's just extremely important. The next one, I think we're coming up to the end, Reagan. Here's tips. Big one. Make sure the photo is color. Almost all of our pages are in color. We have more color pages than almost anybody in the state. Make sure the photo contains African Americans. Please do not send press release in PDF. I can't tell you how important that is. Even the people on the move. Why? If I have 6 people on the move and I'm trying to get them done relatively quickly, whatever, and they're either in a Word file or they're in the body of the email, I can cut and paste. And then I'm going to edit it down to our right side. Sometimes in PDFs, you cannot cut and paste. Even when you go to the letter and when you cut and paste and then you paste it, it's hard to explain, but it's all wonky and it lines up all in a row. It's kind of jacked up. My editor, Alvin Rood, who I'm sure a lot of you know, he says the same thing. So if you send a PDF of your press release, unfortunately, that moves you back down in the food chain. Why? Because that means somebody here probably has to retype it. In the instance of people on the move, that's me. So I'm going to move somebody up who I just got theirs, and it's an easy format, if that makes any sense. This is another thing, and this is just a request. Please don't send a follow email to make sure we got it or ask when it'll run. I know that is all part of your jobs and you are just doing your jobs. And maybe I should say this, maybe you could send one follow-up email or something along those lines. But we have a weekly paper to get out. Like today, I'm not answering a whole lot of emails because it's a Wednesday, nor is our editorial staff. With the people on the move, people will send me, hey, Kevin, I mean, I sent this a week and a half ago. Well, the good thing is for us, we have about 2 weeks worth of people on the move already in the can. So like next week's, for example, I already have it. That are going to go in there. There's only 4 of them that run. So, but these are some of the things I would guess I'd say the strongest thing is that press release in PDF format is just causes a hassle for us. And I'm one who likes to get the email, get it done, delete it, get it done, because I can't tell you how much email I get. I'm sure you do too. So that might be the end of it, Reagan.
Well, we do have a question in the Q&A. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Jones, I'm Nez Savala. So the question is, and I'm going to read it verbatim so I don't take it out of context. It says, on the topic of elections, is it best to rewrite a press release on something generic like important election dates so that it is specifically geared toward the African American community, i.e. typical turnout rates from the community, to have better chances of getting the information published?
Yeah, I think that's a good, I don't think it's necessary, but that's a good, that's a good question. And how does this, thanks, Nicole. How does this affect the African American community, et cetera? Even if it says something along the lines of, well, in last year's city election, only 22% people came out and vote, those type of things. That's very important because I think it sticks out with people in a lot of ways. It kind of tells the story, in my view. Does that make the person want to vote even more? I don't know, but I think it is practical. But again, I throw out, put whatever you want in these press releases, but just realize we may edit it down. We may take your piece. Reagan had one of this. Spire was doing something with a school and a market in a school. Made for a nice story, made for a nice photo with Wiley, our photographer. And what was just a probably about this long press release from Reagan turned into, it's a major business story on the front of tomorrow's paper. Okay, so we can take something like that. It depends on what else is going on in the news, local news this week. What else do we have? Realize we have a lot of things when we do these special sections, like that diversity one. I said we have another special section coming out tomorrow. Boy, we need stuff in our newspaper, and that's why we want to partner with people like you all. We can't cover everything. We don't know about everything in every way whatsoever. Dr. Suggs is here. He'll tell you he's not necessarily, quote, in the community, nor are a couple of my reporters. My photographer is, but we need to know these things. Your diversity, equity, inclusion departments at your office, we just assume we don't have a relationship with them. Just assume, because I'm telling you, you'd be surprised. We don't. If I told you, if I listed these 10 companies and said we don't get anything from them, you'd say, oh my gosh, you have to be kidding me. They're missing the boat. Nez, you have something?
Yeah, I did have a question, it's probably not a smart question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Is there an editorial calendar for the American? So let's say we've got a release that might be interesting, but it really won't fit, or it might not fit to your August edition, but we wrote it in March. Is there an editorial calendar that we could follow?
There is. It's on the very top of our website, stlamerican.com. It says, I think it says 2022 editorial calendar. Basically, though, I'll be honest, those are more our special editions, our special sections, etc. So tomorrow's section is Salute to Excellence in Healthcare, where we are honoring, I guess it's like 11 outstanding African-American healthcare providers. So that section is all about them, I'll be very honest. However, the following week, we have a health and wellness section, okay? And if you would see up there, you'd say, hey, Kevin, I'd like to submit something for the health and wellness section. Well, that's terrific, because we need stuff for that. We need local things, as opposed to somebody here going to one of these services. There's one, I'll be honest, called State Point. And we can get these fluffy stories about this with a corny photo, all those type of things. We do a couple money-wise, we call them sections, basically finance, a couple of times a year. We don't get enough of those stories, so we ended up putting in, I'll call it filler copy. That's not good. It's not local. It's not necessarily reader friendly. We know it's not being read as much because we can tell by our website analytics. So if you go to that editorial calendar, I think that's a good thing that you'll see. And even if we have, let's say this week we have a salute to health, well, that's going to be inserted in our paper. So it's probably, if you do have something health wise, it would be a good week to have it in the regular newspaper, if you will, because as we have an emphasis on health this week. One thing I did not bring up is we have a business section every week. We have a health section every week, a 2-page spread, again, talking about healthcare disparities among African Americans and telling some good stories, if you will, so it's not all doom and gloom. I'm looking
There's
at
another question in here.
I see it.
You can see them? Okay.
Yeah, I can. All county and city, yes, and yes is the answer. So we distribute across the river in Illinois. I'll start over there in Illinois. We probably have about 2,400 copies over in Illinois. Again, at the Schnucks grocery stores, a couple other places over there, like SIU Edwardsville. We're in a lot of higher education campuses, in a lot of libraries, but grocery stores, that's a big thing. North County is our hugest distribution. Those grocery stores up there, even mom and pops up there, love to have the newspaper. South County, I'll give an example. We distribute in South County, but in the Schnucks there, we might put a stack of like 30, okay? In the Schnucks up at Cross Keys in Ferguson, Florissant, we're gonna do 500 on a Thursday. The papers go so quickly, we probably will restock it on a Saturday. So that's very important. St. Charles County, don't dismiss it. We 3 of our 25 employees are from St. Peter's. They drive all the way down here to downtown when they drive in. And, that's a growing place, all of St. Charles. And so news from all of those areas are essential. You bring up a very good question, Brian. When I first got here, it seemed like for the first 10 years, everybody thought we were, quote, the city paper. We have more distribution in St. Louis County than we do in St. Louis City, okay? It's about 2/3 of our distribution. If you think about 300,000 people in the city of St. Louis, not as many people working downtown at their offices anymore, whatever. 1 million people in St. Louis County. So we try to get them where we can, where they work, where they shop, even their churches at some of these larger churches were distributed there. But that was a very good question.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any other questions that they want to put in the chat or?
I have one last one before we wrap, if there are no other questions. Videos are also something that individuals can submit. Kevin, can you touch on that? I know Inspire, an example of, we may advertise for Careers in Energy Week or promote it, and that is where we're trying to talk about the various career opportunities in natural gas. We also submit a video to go along with that you all may promote on your site. Can you talk a little bit around the parameters for submitting videos or content that we created for the American to actually share?
That's a very good example. How do I say this? So for videos, the sales staff will, I'm trying not to scare everybody here. Just hear me out. The sales staff will charge to put videos up there. And usually just so you know, yes, Reagan, I mean, they're about 1.5 minutes long. I wouldn't have them, the better ones I'd say are even a minute, that don't look too much like a commercial on Channel 5 or something that, that are more informative. Again, what is in it for our readers? If it is happen to be job related or job training, those are one of the most engaged things on our social media. People will share those like crazy when it comes to jobs. But when it comes to things like that, we do that with Spire because Spire, it does a lot with us all year long, advertising, etc. What we feel is we have a true partnership with them. So if they come to us and say, hey, we're doing this with you anyway, we have this going in the paper, we do this, can we also put up a video? I say yes, because of that partnership. If somebody comes in from XYZ Corporation and they've never done a thing with us and they want a video up, I don't, it'd have to be something extremely compelling. I mean, extremely compelling for us to do it. Again, not to sound like whatever, but we rely on our advertising revenue. We can give you these added value things, but we have to survive to begin with. So it's a little bit touchy, and I'm probably not answering it very well. But that's what, and I don't want to sound like it's quote pay to play, because it's absolutely not like that. We really look out for our partners who keep us in existence, if you will. So again, it doesn't say, I'm not saying no, but chances, I'll be honest, I mean, chances are a lot slimmer if a company doesn't do anything. So Nez has got strength of community newspapers. I gave it. So I worked for Suburban Journals right after college. That was probably before several of your existence out there. I'll give you an example of a really good one, which is Washington, Missouri. It's only about 50 minutes from here. It's not a little small cow town, but it's certainly not a big town. They have a newspaper there where almost everybody in town gets it. Okay. They get, their news channel is channel 4, 2, and 5, just like us. Everything's the same. They go to Cardinals games just like us, just all these things. But they're really connected with local stuff in that Washington community. Post-Dispatch, they have very few readers in Washington, so they can only use so much amount of their pages for that. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's what they have to look at where are our readers from, and they have to distribute their news properly. With us, we're a different type of community newspaper. We happen to reach the African American market. In our view, we try to do all we can not to rip on any other media, but in other print products and broadcast, it's not a very consistent positive storytelling of the African American community. On the broadcast news throughout the country, you see these mug shots the first 5-10 minutes, to get your attention and all that. Not good. In daily newspapers across the country, you'll see mug shots, or you'll see African Americans in the sports section, and that's it. We try to, again, that positive stuff. Now we have some political writing in there. We have some other things as well, but it's those positive stories that we don't know about. We're about to start once a month writing about a Black-owned restaurant in St. Louis, a different one each month. Why? Of huge interest to our readers. We've tested it a little bit, and they say, well, oh my gosh, thanks for telling me about this one. I'm going to go there. We went to one place in the Foundry, owned by 4 African-American women, I guess it was. I think it's called Four Hands or something like that. Very good response from our readers. So number one, our readers want it. Number two, it's us helping these African-American entrepreneurs hopefully be even more successful, because we're sending some more things there. So we can do that as a community newspaper. It's more credible, if you will, coming from us and our African-American writers versus other media outlets, is one of the things we feel.
Well, thank you, Kevin, for your time today. You want to give them your email so they can reach you one time?
Did I push that enough? Yeah, letter K, Jones at stlamerican.com. And again, I would encourage everybody to go to our e-edition. It's free, and just kind of see what's in there, whether it's somebody in your own industry, those type of things, the people on the move, etc. Just go there and see what is going on in the publication, and then you can go to our Facebook just to see what folks are talking about. Again, Black radio in St. Louis isn't what it used to be, certainly in the 80s or even the 90s. So we are trying to be that media outlet that is engaged with the community more than anybody.
And we appreciate that, Kevin, so much. Thank you for your time today. Just as a reminder, our next webinar will be April 21st at 11:30. So look out for promotional information about that and how you can register. Again, that's on APR. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, everyone, and thank you for coming.
Thank you.